There are many things that we can discuss, but also commendations for the 120-day promises, but also on the downside, some things, the expectations were that could have been done better. But all the same, it remains or becomes one of the critical things and subjects we have to discuss. 120-day social contract up, and yesterday was the final day, 120 days. We had a whole session with the president in the evening, and also that indication that some have been achieved. It depends on which of the media outlets you're watching. The self-assessment by ourselves, what we did was just to be ticking the boxes and then also ultimately drawing the curtain down on the percentage of achievement of those 120-day promises or social contract that the president decided to have with us, the voters. And the numbers usually will range between 60 to 70%, so 68%, 72% depending. But for the supporters and the non-supporters, I've heard somewhere that Samiuku gives the president 48%. Somebody called this morning, I'm sure an NDC supporter or fan base, and says it's 130%. So you know how extreme and non-extreme it can be. But please make sure you join us. We have Facebook. It goes with Shoko *439#. And so as you do us the honors by cashing out with *439# on cash out, please share the stream on our social media platforms. Become one of those lucky winners with choosing option 2. Remember, we have the special Mother's Day cash out. It goes with the same short code *439#, but this time you're choosing option 2. So start playing as many times as you can, because ultimately tomorrow all those numbers will be drawing the curtain raise up as to who becomes the ultimate winner for the Mother's Day cash out jackpot. You have to start playing. I'm assuming that you might have started playing a day or two ago, and you choose option 8, you know, winning 4,000 Ghana cedis each for 4 lucky people. You know, the good thing is that for all those lucky winners, we're going to choose some to go have weekend stays across the country. And Sogakopa, for example, is going to be one of those destinations. We're going to, you know, lodge you in one of those resorts. We're going to eat good cuisines. Within budget. And, well, we'll see how that goes for all of us. We also have the TV3, 3FM, 92.7 Mother's Day out. It is headlined Dining with Mom. It's in partnership with Airport View Hotel and just going for some good rates. So 600 Ghana cedis if you're single, if you're double, if you're coming with your partner. Forget about being married or not married. Just come with a partner. All the same. If you're coming with a stranger, no problem. Because you're going to enjoy a lot of not only good music, but also great artists going to perform. And we have PCS star MOG. We also have praise as well. And so we're going to have some great time. Remember, for our partners, we thank them as well. Dining with Mom. Charlie, win your veggie. And so make sure you come alongside and enjoy this. Airport View Hotel. It's coming on Mother's Day. I want to say good morning to all of you who have joined us on our stream. You know, what we tend to do is also do an introduction of our guests this morning. I have Dr. Susan Edouard-Mankwa, the latest Afro lady in town. How are you? Good morning.
I'm very well, thank you.
Great, great. And then Amma Pratt. Amma Pratt, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Roland.
Amma Pratt is a spokesperson for the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. How are you as well?
I'm well,
great. And so the president has been speaking, telling us about how he was able to measure up to his own promises. He calls it 120-day social contract with us, the voters. Well, we've been assessing him, but what could have been done better? What has been done? And then what are the commitments so far we should commit the president to? I think it's very important. And so we also have Aula Sewa. Good morning to you as well. And you'll be joining us. Good morning, Aula.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. And good morning to all your guests.
Yes. And you and your NGO, you've been on the neck of the president, right?
I wouldn't say we've been on his neck. We've been on the king because Ghana belongs to us all. It is in every single Ghanaian's interest to see an end to the environmental terrorism.
Fantastic, Charlie. We haven't even asked the first question, and she's gone ballistic already. The president needs to repeal the LI. That's the first one. And then also make sure that mining is given some more recognition. And so the state of mining needs to be given that prominence. And so it's making sure that we don't tend to have that is mining in forest reserves. So we'll just take some insights of the president, and then we'll come back and ask the questions.
Illegal and new mining activities in forest reserves and roll out our Tree for Life and Blue Water initiatives to heal and sustainably harness our environment. In the first 120 days, we've taken decisive action through a 5-pronged strategy to overhaul and sanitize the mining sector. This includes regulatory reforms and strengthening the law enforcement, including joint task forces, arrests and seizures of mining equipment, stakeholder collaboration, reclamation of degraded lands. 7 out of 9 forest reserves have been reclaimed. Illegal miners have been flushed out of these forest reserves. Concerning the ban on mining in forest reserves, on March 20th, 2025, a legislative instrument, LI 2462, was presented to Parliament to amend the Environmental Protection Mining in Forest Reserves Regulation. This amendment removes the President's power to grant approval for mining in forest reserves. I plan also to amend the Minerals and Mining Act 2003, Act 703, to completely prohibit mining in forest reserves. This would effectively, meticulously, legally, and entirely ban mining in our forest reserves.
Now, the President, John Dramani Mahama, I would want to engage our studio guest first, but I'm tempted to go to Awula Sewa. Awula, particularly for your NGO as well as others in civil society that have the focus to make sure the environment is preserved, are you now getting the assurances that despite your fears, the President is doing what you actually want, and ultimately, based on the promise, if Parliament reconvenes, we're going to have that LI, is it amended? No, scrapped, so to speak. I think that's a good question, is it not?
Yes, we are hoping that when Parliament reconvenes, LI 2462, which we believe is a perverse piece of legislation, we are praying that it will not be amended, but it will be revoked, completely thrown away as not being fit for purpose. You recall that in opposition, the President promised that this will be done. Unfortunately, what was laid before Parliament wasn't a revocation, but an amendment. But we've been assured that when Parliament resumes, the proper thing will be done, and we are grateful for that. We commend all efforts the President is making, but we are saying that we face an existential threat. The house is burning, and more urgent steps need to be taken if Ghana is to come back from the brink of disaster. The window of opportunity to reverse the situation is fast closing. We need to act quickly. We need to act quickly. And I would like to say that, you made the point was made about 7 out of 9 forest reserves being reclaimed. I'm not quite sure which these forest reserves are, and we know we have much more than 9. However, reports we are getting is that, for example, the Ofin Forest Reserve, which was supposed to have been reclaimed, the illegal miners found their way back and caused havoc. And I believe a forestry commission officer was actually attacked and was left fighting for his life. So you see, the problem we face, the existential threat, is not something we can just go once and say we've recovered, was it 7 out of 9? It's something that needs continuous assessment and ensuring that the environmental terrorists don't go back to destroying the river. And then we are also a little disappointed that we are not hearing follow-ups about reports that have been made. For example, in the Ashanti region, you had excavators that had been seized. You could clearly see that they were marked as exhibits. They were in the custody of the Forestry Commission. An order was given by I don't know who to retrieve the excavators. miraculously, there were low loaders to mount the excavators on. These are, equipment that are very hard to come by. And the Forestry Commission has been spending so much money when they try to seize excavators. After a report was made by Erastus Asaredonko, the excavators, I believe, have all been returned. But we need to find out who gave the order. What is the impunity that court exhibits can be ordered to be retrieved? No, there's been no follow-up. Also, we're told about, so many things happening, but we don't hear about any prosecutions. Take Akunta mining, for instance. It would have been good to hear that prosecutions are going to come. We haven't heard anything about that. So follow-up is important to assure Ghanaians that the fight against illegal mining is being taken seriously, that we are aware that we are being poisoned and we want to do something robust about it. We are still waiting for a state of emergency to be declared.
I know the subject of a state of emergency dominated the headlines and the discussions just prior to the election. And so that has become the main refrain from you, civil society, and then the opposition. If a state of emergency is declared, why is that important? And two...
It's important because, as I said, we don't want Ghana to sink to the level of some Latin American countries, where the drug cartels control parts of the country, and even the army cannot go there. It did not start overnight. It started like it's happening now, and nothing robust was done about it. So we are saying that we know the forest reserves under threat. We know the water bodies. For example, the Ankombra River has been diverted. What has been done about it to date? We have the information. We're not waiting for the blue water guards to tell us. We have the information. What are we doing about it? So you go to the forest reserves, water bodies, where some of the environmental terrorists are highly armed. Even government officials are declaring them as environmental terrorists. When you have terrorists, how do you fight them? How do you fight terrorists? Of course, you fight them with your armed forces. So we are saying that if you yourself have recognized that those destroying Ghana are environmental terrorists, you need to have the appropriate ways of dealing with them. And that's why we said declare a state of emergency specifically for the forest reserves and the water bodies. Send your armed forces there, remove them and their equipment, and begin prosecutions using the polluter pays principle. If your excavator is found in a forest reserve, you should be held accountable. If you own an excavator, you should ensure that it's not destroying Ghana's natural forest reserves. So these are some of the points we are making. And it is disappointing that a low-hanging fruit like LI 2462, which could easily have been revoked, hasn't yet been revoked. And we spent so much time campaigning for it to be revoked. We also want EI 144, which is an executive instrument with declassified parts of Achimota Forest, to be revoked. We commend the president for the tree planting. However, if we are serious about tree planting, then we need to revoke EI 144, which is declassifying parts of Achimota Forest, the lungs of Accra. Who does this? So we are asking for this to be done, and all Ghanaians to get behind the president so long as he's taking the right steps. We should all get behind him, support and encourage, because Ghana belongs to every Ghanaian, not to any particular political party. And we all have a stake in stopping the ecocide. Apart from poisoning us, destroying our forest reserves, it's also poisoning our food. All of us had breakfast, well, we'll have a meal sometime today. Do we know where the food is coming from? Do we know where the food is coming from? We've told about the health aspect, rising kidney disease, maternal deaths, and deformed children. What are we waiting for to take robust steps? And once the robust steps are taken, I appeal to every single Ghanaian to get behind the president.
All right. I know you, if you can spare 10 more minutes, I want to go around and come back to you for a last question. And then.
Very well.
Great. Amma Pratt, ball is in your court. Presidency.
Right.
Awula Sawa says, you guys are the presidency and the president, very lax. Good talk, low in output.
Oh.
Regarding the Galamsey issue, among the 120-day promises.
I heard differently. I heard commendation. I heard her say that I can see where progress is being made. I can see where there's goodwill and political will. I applaud that. I expect more. That's what I heard. And that's how I feel, right? Because, yes, there were promises in the NDC's manifesto cataloging a series of things to be done, right? The issue that we are all facing presently is one of implementation. And like she rightly says, steps are being made, things are being done to make sure that we get there. Now, let's sort of take a step back, just one step back, and look at this administration's overall approach to the Galamsey fight. This administration is taking what I would call a holistic approach. It's looking at bringing all stakeholders. So it's more geared towards, you know, I term it SDD, SDS, stakeholder-driven strategy in addressing the issue. Now, unfortunately, like we say in Ghana, that is long. It's longer. You are involving everybody. You are involving the chiefs. You want to do policies, and it goes all the way back. Initiate policies that would deal with specific on-the-ground issues. And I can even talk as far as talk about the Women's Development Bank and how the idea there is to give alternative source of livelihood, you know, to specific communities. And for me, communities that are involved in, you know, illegal mining. So the question then becomes for me, how do you translate stakeholder engagement into actionable policies that would drive change, you know, on the ground? For me, that's a huge question. Yes, it is longer, but is it more sustainable? I think all of us would agree that that would be the more sustainable way to approach the issue, right? There could be, how do I say this without sounding some way, knee-jerk, how do I call them, political, you know, fanciful solutions that could be preferred right now just to make it look as if you are working. That's an approach that could be taken. And we know that those approaches, we can always learn from the past, have not dealt with the issues realistically on the ground. Now, this government is committed to a sustainable, lasting solution to this Galamsey menace. For me, the most important thing will be political will, right? And how do we assess political will? You are dealing with a government that in its past tenure gave only four licenses to small-scale miners. Four.
So far? Four.
No, not in this administration. Okay. In NDC's previous administration. Four. On one hand, four. I mean, and I want us to take this in. It's important that we constantly remind ourselves of where we are, who we are, and who we are dealing with.
Okay.
As compared to an administration that gave as much as almost 2,000. So in terms of political will, this administration has proven itself and has demonstrated that we are committed to this fight.
Okay.
Not even in this time, from our previous times, right?
So the question,
if you are questioning, for me, the biggest issue would be, Roland, if you permit me.
So there are instances where the questions have been raised about the number of licenses that have been issued, because that leads to gross abuse. Now, that becomes a campaign topic. The president then assumes the reign of being the executive leader of the country, where all powers, being the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, as well as other related powers as enshrined in the 1992 Constitution, he has. That also means that the expectation from NGOs, media, and everyone that is against the pollution that is ongoing, that he stamps his authority on the subject. And so if the physical, visible action is not coming from the president by way of stamping his authority, all criticism towards that is right, whether 100 licenses were given before or not.
No. No, you are completely, how do I say it?
Because, for example, there's a call for a state of emergency.
Hold on. How do you deal with an issue? How are we here? Let's go there. How did we end up here having this conversation?
We're not saying we're lamenting,
No, it's not about lamentations. Okay. For me, the number one way to deal with this Galamsey issue would be the political will. That's number one, right? How else do you show political will? By how you, because things don't happen in a vacuum. Governance is about issuing licenses. That's how people end up on the ground doing Galamsey. right? So for me, if you have a government that has shown a real direct, political will to the issue by not even issuing licenses in the first place, that for me is rule number one.
Okay,
that's
so
in
that's
its past administration. And I keep saying this, in this administration, let me not jump ahead of myself, but I dare say that perhaps less licenses might be issued, or perhaps no license might be issued at all.
So what happens to the previous licenses that you are lamenting about, and then they go about destroying the environment? What happens to them? What is being done about it?
And if you'd only permit me to make the point.
No, I'm permitting you.
The point for me is that if you have 4 licenses given to people to operate, that's 4 operations, as against almost 2,000 licenses for people to operate. That's dealing with an excess of... So let's situate the conversations well. I'm saying that this government has demonstrated the political will needed for this fight. This government has shown that it is that administration...
How has the demonstration of a political will be undertaken?
That's the point at which...
It's a very
point
simple
number
question.
1.
Yeah.
Roland, by not issuing licenses.
Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, which other ones have been done?
Now...
Prosecution?
And that's in the past administration. We are in the present administration, right? I'm saying that we are all dealing with the excesses of our past administration. Let's give credit where credit is due. We are all here today and talking about the Galamsey files because one administration came in and did not seem to appreciate that issuing licenses like you are giving out, I don't know what is what will bring us here today. That's the reality of the issue, right? Thank you. Handing out candy at a children's party. I like that. That's why we are here. That's the reality of the situation. Now, when you are dealing with a government that has proven that it understands the issues and appreciates the nuances of the issues, I like what Madam just did. Then you give that government some grace to operate. This is not the government that you put fire to. This is not the administration that you hound. Because this administration understands the issues, is committed to solving the issues, has the political will to deal with the issues. And so what is needed, like she rightly said, and I agree with her 100%, you give this government support to get things done, which is what brings me to my point number 2. This issue about how do we now action the stakeholder engagements into actionable policies. The engagements are ongoing. I myself sat in one. Actually, I think I've sat in 2, right? So the engagements are ongoing. The chiefs are, important stakeholders. They are saying what they are saying. Government is saying what it's saying. And Madam's agencies, Madam is also here. Everybody's, But how do we, at the end of the day, quickly action all of these engagements so we can move forward? For me, that would be the most important thing right now. If all of us agree that, listen, this is an existential problem that we need to make go away now, then all of us can put our heads together, put our hands together, put our legs together, and make it happen. Now, I will talk about economic constraints. And for me, this is about alternatives, right? The alternative source of livelihood, which is important. And I've heard people like the Honorable Freddie Blay speak about how it's virtually impossible because of the social dynamics, within these rural communities and in these Galamsey raiding communities and all of that. We will not lift our hands up in surrender. No, we will not. There are real economic constraints that prevents us from immediately establishing something like the Women's Development Bank, which would give women in these communities real source of livelihood and would detract from Galamsey. You have communities whose only source of making any kind of money is Galamsey. Let's be real, right? There are whole communities that are hinged on Galamsey. That's the only source of livelihood that they have. That's the truth. Now, you can't take away something from somebody's hand when you're not replacing it with something else. That's also a fact. So for me, we have, and I don't want to do this morning, where I keep talking about what has happened in the past, the financial, economic, fiscal deficits that we are having to deal with. We are here now. Let's deal with it, right? Social dynamics, we are here now. Let's deal with it. Ultimately, for me, if all stakeholders understand that this Galamsey menace has to go away today, and all of us put our heads to the task, we will make it happen.
Madam Awula, there's one thing I take away from Mama Pratt's submission, that you also need to give room to the president as well as the government to undertake the processes that lead to having a comprehensive plan put in place, i.e., having stakeholder engagement, making sure that there's also a buy-in from the various stakeholders in themselves, and then a plan ultimately is outdoored, then we can have, well, a full holistic approach to it, and not just having an emergency.
But what I would say is that what we need is the political will, and the political will could have been demonstrated if we had. The political will could have been demonstrated by repealing LI 2462 as promised, rather than. Hello.
We're listening to you. Very perfect.
Rather than amending, they don't show political will or good faith. But what I would like to say also is that the house is burning. When the house is burning, you focus on putting out the fire. After putting out the fire, you can have some discussions. I totally disagree with the engagements upon it. I have been to a number of engagements, stakeholder engagements on illegal mining. A lot of recommendations have been made. We are still where we are. So the point I'm making is that, yes, you might want to get buy-in, but let's focus now on putting out the fire. And existential threat means we can all be destroyed. Our water bodies are being poisoned. Forest reserves destroyed. We cannot afford to be engaging in endless community stakeholder meetings. Second of all, I would say that a criminal activity is criminal activity. When there's armed robbery going on, we deal with the armed robbers. We don't say that we are going to find them alternative income first, although that is important. A lot of people engaged in illegal mining, it's not that they don't have a source of income, it's because it seems to be more lucrative. We've heard about farmers going into it. We've heard about all sorts of people going into it because it's more lucrative than an 8-to-5 job. When we destroy the forest, we all know that the forest can be used as carbon sinks to get an income. There's a green economy. So the idea that the only reason why people are in illegal mining is because of because of livelihood, not completely the case. Also, as a consequence of illegal mining, fishermen are losing their livelihood. I've been informed by the Peasant Farmers Association that over 2.5 million peasant farmers are at the risk of losing their livelihood as a consequence of illegal mining. I don't like calling it galamsey, because if we look at the genesis of the word galamsey, it wasn't to do with heavy duty equipment and causing the devastation going on. It had to do with hand tools. So we cannot compare the two. So what I'm saying is that the time has come to show the political will and put out the fire. And once this is being done, we are encouraging Ghanaians to get behind. That is why we want to see process. And the last thing I'll say,
Madam Awula, just hold on there. So your expectation was, and your plan is what? That there should have been a state of emergency, and then
first of all, we should have revoked LI 2462.
Okay, revocation.
Waiting for Parliament to
Number two.
A state of emergency and a pause in small-scale mining, community mining, whatever you want to call it, until we get our act together. Because we've issued the licenses like confetti, as the last speaker rightly said, and we can't even monitor. We don't have the resources to monitor. So we pause it, because a lot of them don't have the infrastructure to do responsible mining. That's not to say that because you're a large-scale miner, you are necessarily responsible.
Okay.
But when you're a small-scale miner and there's no monitoring going on, what do we expect? And I'm surprised that the head of the Minerals Commission is still at post when they were issuing licenses like confetti. Why is he still at post? And very good CEOs have been removed in some cases. So CSOs are wondering why
for this period, since the president assumed office, have you been part of any stakeholder engagement for which you draw the conclusion we have too many stakeholder engagements?
Well, I haven't been part of it, but some of the CSOs I'm involved with, like Arocha Ghana, have been part of it.
All right. So if you have to rate the president and his government on what they've done so far, because there have been a number of arrests, there have been raids, there have been burnings, and there have been stopping of illegal mining in some areas. So that rating 0 to 10 from you as a CSO coordinator, what will it be?
I will sidestep the question and say that a few steps have been taken. We commend those steps, but far, 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 far more needs to be done. The political will needs to be shown by revoking LI 2462, declaring a state of emergency, which is not shoot and kill like we are in the jungle, by which is focusing our armed forces on our forest reserves and water bodies, flushing out the illegal mining, and then having a rapid response team. So that if there's any sign of them coming back, you go back there and again flush them out. Because you see, it's a war we are fighting. We may win one battle, that doesn't mean the war has been won.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. I wish you well for your day, and God bless you and guide you as well. And
thank you for having me.
Dr. Susan Edamankwa, right? I'm thinking the president has done well in some respects, but also that sticking point about not declaring a state of emergency and then outlawing when it comes to the LI is always a problem, right? It becomes indefensible. What do you say to that generally?
Well, I guess I would say that I seems to have been reading from my notes, because I said that it's a war. There are battles we will win and there are battles that we would lose. And I think that there are certain steps that will be taken and then we will retract. The government thought that they would probably amend the law and then move on. But they have realized that that is not going to work for us. A lot of us are not going to take kindly to that. So they retreat. They say, I think we also have to understand. I'm not saying Are
you saying that there's
wait, let me finish.
After coming into office, there's a rethink of the strategy?
Yes, let me finish, then maybe you can come in. I think we also have to understand or to know that there are NDC galamseyers or NDC illegal miners waiting to have their time and their turn. And so that push is also there, because otherwise, why would we have that issue of where during the campaign it said that we were going to repeal the law, and then we come and say we want to amend. And that's why we have to look at political party financing, because possibly you have some financiers there who are saying that, but this is our time to also make some money and become the wound to miss of NDC. So that push is there, but it is for the president to put his foot down, look at the bigger picture, and say, no, it is the very existence not just of Ghanaians presently, but of future. And so I'm not going to put my party's interest first. It has to be Ghana first, Ghana last, Ghana always. That should be the legacy that he leaves in this term, that he is able to take the hard decisions even against his party, because he's looking at the ultimate, which is the greater good for Ghanaians. So I'm sure that is the push that happened in terms of this. We are amending in sort of, but if they say that when they get back to Parliament, they are going to repeal, then we are moving forward with this war. But, there are good things that have been done, and we believe that there's more to be done. I talked about the excavators. I think pardon me, it's either the mayor or the minister confessed to having those excavators taken. He said he needed them to go and clear some rubble at a fire that I think took place in the market in Kumasi or something like that. Or, he gave an explanation. Whether we believe it or not is a different thing. But he apologized and said, because what people were wondering, that as you should have some interdepartmental conversation. Why did they have to take armed soldiers to go, or armed NIB operatives to go and pick those excavators, when if he as mayor could have had a conversation with the forestry department and said, oh, I need the excavators to go and do this, I'll return them as such. Why did that happen? You see, all these murky things and fishy things, I expected that mayor to have lost his job the following day. Of Ashanti,
Kumasi.
Because of Kumasi, yes. To have lost his job the following day. with that big goof. Because if it was a genuine thing that he needed those excavators to go and clear up, what was stopping him picking up a phone to speak to the head of forestry there to go and do it? Did they need to take armed people to go and pick that thing? What if the forestry people, who are also armed, it had turned into a firefight? Can you imagine the loss of life and the unnecessary grief that would have brought? There is something to be said for us to realize that we are in this fight together and we must do things properly. And for everything, there should be proper procedure. I mean, I am shocked that people at will can take the national security to use them in such a manner. We really have to look at this thing holistically. You get it. But coming back to the Galamsey, because it affects all spheres of life. Amma said that there are some villages that all they do is Galamsey. It is only because they have destroyed their lands. It's become a vicious circle. They have destroyed their lands with Galamsey, and so they have left the farming that they were doing and gone back to Galamsey. We have to find a way to stop this vicious cycle, you know, because otherwise So
I get the understanding that you're saying that there's been, since coming to hold the executive office by the president, a rethink of what really the situation is. And so the way he's going is okay. You're planning and making sure that you do the go live very well. Yeah, in terms of the measures that would ensure whether it's an emergency you need or clamping down on people. And so this one is okay for you. Is that what you're saying? No,
I think that it's, like I said, it's a war. We need, in that war, we need several strategies to look at it like that. Every sector needs to play to its strength. You get it. And every sector needs to play. I mean, why are those young men? You see, the thing is that there is a certain corruption that arises out of greed. And people are using their greed to feed on the need of people to have a daily subsistence. You understand? Those young boys that you see, they are not the ones buying the excavators. Yeah. They are big and powerful.
They're actually even not the ones funding the daily operations. Yes, they are big and powerful people.
So
why can't the president just use executive powers and go after them?
We can have, that is why I'm saying we are having that push also. Why else would we have attempted to amend a law instead of totally throwing it in the bin? You get it? Because that push is also there. And so we as a people, Amma said we must take our time and we must consistently put fire on the president so that push that is coming from the NDC big wigs who want to do illegal mining, you know, we are having a bigger push so that the president says, no, I'm doing this for my people. I'm not going to take your side. You understand? Because we have to realize that push is coming. You get it? That push is there. And so we on the other side who are looking at just our threat for us and our generations must consistently put pressure on the president that you have to look at this as a big war, and that at several fronts you must be fighting it. Yes, we must make the economy better so that we can lift people out of poverty, and then people don't have to necessarily go and do these kind of things. We cannot have a vacuum where we pull these people out of illegal money and there's nothing to do. So we must look at all of that. We must look at the how we are going to resolve the destruction of the environment, and how that we are going to and that is a long-term thing. It's not something that it's a magic wand. It's not. We have raped it so badly. It will take time to heal, and we must have that education and tell people that look, it is not going to change overnight.
I see. But it looks like you and Amapraju consulted your notes.
No, we didn't consult our notes. She said her thing. I'm saying my thing. But
I know. I'm only literally trying to tease the two of you.
Because we are speaking the truth.
But you see, there will be ad hoc battles. And that is why in the ad hoc battles, that is why they are asking for the state of emergency
and you're saying that is hard because we've done it before, right?
In certain places.
Yeah.
It's not in certain places. So that you can have, if it's the military, to move, because those battles will happen. And so there must be the environment for that. And that's why there's also that insistence. And if the government wants us to commend them consistently, we must see some of these action points. The revocation, the emergency, the state of emergency in these places. Of course, they said they have, what they call them, rangers, or they inaugurated some people who they said they've trained.
The blue water guards.
They said the water guards and everything. I don't know how successful, how they're going to pay them and things like that. I think they also talked about the tracking of the excavators. We would hope that tracking, you understand, they put into place. In this country, because our salaries are low and things are hard, people are so susceptible to, how the bribery and things like that. But we must put in measures that it closes those gaps. Because once, we say we are putting trackers on the excavators, and that those excavators, if they move out of the areas in which they're supposed to be in, and an alarm is sent, or they are unable to move. I think it's one of, or either an alarm is sent, or they are unable to operate outside. We must have somebody who is keeping an eye on that consistently. We shouldn't have a country where 200 excavators can vanish into thin air. That should never, ever happen again. You get it. We've had that.
500.
There were 500?
Yes, please.
Hey, Lord have mercy. Anyway.
Which are the Lords?
500 vanished into thin air. You understand? But that is why I'm saying that the behavior of the Kumasi mayor in taking those things should be punished immediately. You understand? We must see action in such a way that nobody wants to deviate from what the president wants, and which is to stop Galamsey eventually. What we have to do is, on our side, civil society, Ghanaians, everything, keep up the pressure.
Okay.
Because we know that there's a push on the other side. Okay. That, we too, we want to make money some. We want to make money some. Not at our expense. That one, dear. We all like money, but we want to think of not just of today, but of tomorrow. And that's what that distraction is doing. Okay. It's poisoning our environment. It's killing all the fauna and the flora that is there. It's just pathetic. You know, the other time they were saying that in the Western region alone, the equivalent of distraction is about 4,000 football fields. Can you imagine that? It's heartbreaking. And so sometimes when we sit in the comfort of Accra and things like that, and think that the Galamsey is there's too much noise about it, there should be even much more.
Okay.
It should be deafening. It should be we should be relentless, and we should push hard on the president so that those bright steps he has to take, he takes them and he sustains them.
Okay.
Otherwise, we won't forgive him.
All right. There's a question I have to ask on this related subject, because this is closely related to the 120-day social contract. But I have this one from my brother Julius Nikwekote, the CEO for the Drivers Vehicle and Licensing Authority, aka Logas. Logas, how are you? He says that the DVL is already registering all excavators from the ports. All right, so you register them at the ports to identify the owners. Is that what you're saying, Logas? So just clarify that for me. But that's also a good thing. So you get to know the owners so that you can track where they go. But how do you track where they go, Logas, or the DVLA, please? So the question then I'll put to you, which will be the last one, I'll expect that we answer them maybe just 4 minutes each. Do you think that the criticism that has always been up in relation to how the president has dealt with the galamsey or illegal mining issue, has taken anything out of the social contract and what has been achieved and not achieved?
Oh, no. Criticisms are welcome.
And
Absolutely.
so what would you say are the bright spot, not the bright spot, in terms of the 120 social contracts?
I mean, yesterday the president addressed all of us, and from everything that he said, and, you know, everything that we all know, 25 promises made, 25 promises kept. 25 promises made, 25
He hasn't repealed the LI.
promises kept. We've had the LI conversation this morning, Roland. Unless you want us to go back and rehash the same conversation we just had. You know, so, I mean, for me, it's not about a government that is backtracking on its word. It's about a government that is willing to get things done. And so will listen, will pay attention, and will do the right thing. In the face of perhaps new information, in the face of perhaps better arguments, it's the only way we can make change and make progress in our country. Grandstanding would not help anybody as we try to move forward. And I keep saying this, you would always have the best of intentions, but it's not always up to you alone. The beauty of democracy states that what happens in a country is not exclusively dependent on the executive. There are other important stakeholders who would either add or derail your best laid plans, and it is important that you continuously have them with you on the table and collectively get to things being done. So, you know, like I say, again, 25 promises made, 25 promises kept. We are 100% in, how do I say it, in unison, in accordance, you know, in spirit, in everything with all of the CSOs. We love the pressure, I have to say, because it's important. If you have a president who has demonstrated political will to get things done, and like Auntie Susan says, you know that in every house there is a Roland. I was going to say there was a Mensa, but sometimes there's a Roland, right? Who would try to derail the process. It's important to keep the pressure going. You know, if it is to support the good intentions of the president. And so, yes, keep it coming. At the end of the day, we will win this fight against galamsey. This administration has proven that it has a political will, has proven that it has the heart, you know, to solve the problem, and will definitely be that administration that gets this work done.
Okay. Well, among the things that have been achieved, what's the most exciting
Oh,
one?
I would definitely say the pad for
The
school
sanitary
girls.
pad.
Oh, my God. And you know why? Because I'm personally vested in this one. I'm personally vested in this one. I was part of the group that demonstrated in Parliament and got the speaker to speak to, you know. So the day that it was launched, as I sat on that, you know, platform, I took a picture of you know, the brochure, and I made a tweet, you know, about how it felt amazing, you know, to protest about one thing, and as soon as the new administration come, to see the administration listen and do what is right by the Ghanaian woman. It's just, it feels amazing. So for that one in particular, for me, only for my very selfish and very parochial and very personal reasons, it's my favorite. But everything else, of course, is important. Social contracts are important. Governance is not just about, you know, the hard stuff, the soft stuff, always important. Ethics, morals. I can't go on and on and on enough. So for me also, the code of conduct for appointees is also a very crucial one, because none of us can sit here and downplay the importance of corruption in all of our problems in this country. Again, let me cite galamsey, where you have a president on stage speaking about galamsey. To his left is somebody that is publicly known to be engaged in galamsey. To his right is somebody that is publicly known to be engaged in galamsey. And the president is standing there saying, I am on a fight against galamsey. That's our history. Let's never forget where we are coming from. So ethics are important, morals are important, and so for me, it's also important that we have, you know, this code of conduct that all of us appointees, I pray, stick to like the Bible and live by. We will make Ghana better. Okay. Absolutely.
So which ones makes you think this is the right course, the right thing to do?
Okay, so we will get to that one. But it's not 100%, and we know that. I mean, that is not 100%. I mean, if you take the one that on the top of my head is the COVID levy, they promised the COVID levy would go. The COVID levy is still there. I mean, if that was 100%, that would have gone. You understand? The president has done well. We have to commend him in terms of in trying to keep to his promises. Okay, and also we have to recognize that he being outside power, he could have made certain promises that when he came into power, he may have underestimated that they would be complete in the 120 days. But he's made the effort to start off them. I mean, from what I have been hearing, because I'm, I haven't taken the statistics. Most persons, being objective, have said 52%. He started 28% more of them, and 20% have not been done. So if you took it that you were doing the 52 plus the 28, that's almost 80%. And so, he has made that effort, and there's a lot to be commended for that effort. The parts are one. And yes, I'm a pharmacist, and we know, I mean, the Lady Pharmacists Association, every year they go out to give, and I know the importance of menstrual hygiene. We will hope, and I've said it before, that it doesn't end at just giving pads, and that there's a better structure there for menstrual hygiene in terms of washrooms where the girls can go and change, because you can give her the pad. If there isn't a good enough washroom, she will take the pad and still not come to school, because she needs to have that kind of environment to be able to change. So let's look at our washroom situations in our public schools, because we have public schools where there are no washrooms, and even in our public spaces. You understand? I mean, if I want to change, I should be able to. There should be a public washroom where I can go. It's nice and clean, and I can change if I want to. You understand? So we don't just need to look at it like that. We need to look at it holistically. And so it has been started. It's wonderful. We like it. There has been the, what you call it? The
code of conduct.
No, the code of conduct is good. It's not a law. But we would hope that they would push it to become a law, so that it is continuous, it is sustainable. It is not just this person comes, he allows it, it doesn't happen, and then another president comes and doesn't follow through with it. And we've seen a lot of things like that. So we would want that it's a law, and as it's a law that we enforce. You understand? Yes, he gave some people 48 hours. We'll be looking at those people. Was it 48 hours? But 7th May, no, yesterday, up to yesterday. We hope that all those people who have not done it would have relinquished their positions by now, because we want to see that he, as he says, his word is his bond. And so if he's issued that directive to people, we hope that his people will take his character and do as he does. You get it? So that is also, of course, there's the... we talked about the affirmative action. We haven't seen too much of that. In terms of the affirmative action where we want to bring equity to women at the decision-making tables. It's good enough to have a vice president, but let's see more of that in other public spaces.
To bring some equity.
Just to bring some equity. You get it. We treat unequals unequally, and so if we need to make up the numbers to make sure that women feel as if we matter in the discourse of this country and at the decision-making table, we need to up that a lot more and see more women in positions of authority and in decision.
And
so
then also
that has to
influence and become role models as well.
Yes, definitely.
Across board.
So it's fantastic that at least 52 of those things that he promised have been done, and 28% have started. Right now the city has stabilized. Some of it may be due to some of the good things that he has done in terms of the physical discipline, etc. I believe that the previous government started buying gold. They are continuing with that, and we want to see that. You understand? So that our city is not dependent on the dollar, but is backed by gold, etc. It will help in our stability. I always say that there may have been good things that were started in the previous government that will bear fruit now. let's acknowledge that and build on it. You understand? Because the Ghana is not for the two of them. It's for all of us. You get it. So whatever was started in the previous government, that is going to bear fruit and good fruit for this country. Let's build on them. I mean, there are certain. It's okay to how would I put it? Fulfill your promises. It is fine. You made the social contract. It's okay to fulfill your promises. It is also okay sometimes when you go and you find that the situation does not allow those promises to
be easily fulfilled.
To be easily fulfilled.
So what do? You come and tell us.
You come and tell us that that look, this is, I promise this. This is the ultimate goal. But at this moment, these are some of the things that are hindering it for it to come out, but it will come out. Or no, the promise must, we must throw aside. I mean, well, for my mind, the betting tax comes into mind. I mean, did we have to do away with the betting tax? I mean, it's my individual opinion. I think not.
We're not having this argument.
We're not having this argument again. But I mean, so I'm just saying that
there's a constituency in the population now.
Yes, but okay. But you said we're not having this argument.
Let's not go on this moral tangent.
No, I'm not. It's not moral tangent.
You and the pastors. That's what. All right. Thank you very much for landing. You've landed.
No, I haven't landed. Why are you forcing me to land my phone? Now you've spoiled my train of thought. Okay,
thank you very much. I'm saying good morning to you again. Yesterday, the DVLA, just to run by you, so the transport minister, they have these electric buses. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said the buses were in. So apparently some of them didn't have across the stations. And then the various officers of the DVLA, they didn't have electronic charging ports. So now, under the leadership of Julius Kote, a.k.a. Logas, Nikwe, so they did some inauguration, outdooring of some charging ports of the electronic buses, or electric buses. I think that's more an appropriate physiology to use. So they went there. The transport minister was there. Shadrach, quickly show that before we go on to the CD conversation, the dollar conversation. And so you find Logas is there. Logas, good morning to you. You have Ms. Bampo as well. And then also the transport minister, all this. So that's the charging ports. And when you go, I'm always sleeping on TikTok these days. My craze is about how the Chinese are now having these massive electric cars, EV cars as they're called. And I've seen a lot of them on the roads. I won't say that majority now, but I think that in 5 years, many of the cars on the roads should be electric cars as well. So Logas, good one there. So this took place yesterday, and that's a good one. But we now have to talk about the CD conversation, especially if you monitor social media and the posts of the opposers of government, of John Dramani Mahama. That would be, of course, the other side of the political divide. They always say that it's because there's a war. So the CD performed poorly against the US dollar because of a war, the Russian-Ukraine war and COVID war. And now another war, it has caused its appreciation, and not because of the efforts of the government. But sometimes when, of course, you study economics, financial management and all that, but at the end of the day, just by your knowledge, you need to speak to the experts as well. So Professor Bakwen will be joining us on the subject. I don't know how that tends to rhyme or creates maybe morale or non-morale at the presidency. So I asked Amma Pratt, Amma, this CD dollar conversation, for all those who tend to use a lot of the dollars for daily activities, they'll find that it's at this threshold, they get a lot of money, Ghana cedis in exchange, and then they go the next day, there's a halving or something, a chipping away of that CD because the CD seem to be doing well against the US dollar. What's the sentiment across the presidency?
I would say that, I mean, for a lot of the people who do business with the CD, it's not always about the exact figures. Perhaps what they really want is consistency, isn't it? What they really want is predictability. It's always important for business. It's important for any business person to be able to sort of project into the future, to be able to plan, to be able to decide where something is going, you know, if I can take this risk, if I can't take that risk. So for me, I think the bigger issue really would be about predictability, consistency, you know, things like that. And I would give this administration, of course, a lot of credit for where we are at right now.
The criticism is that nothing has been done
well,
by
a
the
lot
administration
has
to
happened.
warrant this, and
A
that
lot
it's
has happened.
the trade war that Trump has.
Well, goodwill is important. We all know that when Donald Trump wakes up in the morning and tweets, that single tweet could affect everything, the economy, you know, globally, right? We know that. We know that one statement from one person could drastically affect the fortunes and turn things around. So when you have a government that people have confidence in, when you have a government that is exuding goodwill, showing signs of a good start, we've had, you know, a budget read, we've had our finance minister, we've had our president outline the policies, the plans for this administration. Now, when you see where the thing is going, and you see that, this looks good, it changes things around. People are more comfortable to take more risks. People are more comfortable to do businesses. People are more comfortable to do things perhaps in a way that they might not have done in the past. This government is a good omen for Ghana, clearly. I don't even know what else to say, clearly. But I want to say something quickly before we move ahead. Auntie Susan said she's happy about the code of conduct. However, she's worried that if we don't make it into law, perhaps somebody else would come and we'll go back into the dark ages. Why would you let somebody else come and risk going back into dark ages when you have a good thing right in front of you?
Oh, but why? We can't keep anything there forever.
When you have a good thing in front of you that is doing all the right things, you keep it.
After his 4
you don't
years.
take a risk. You don't take a risk. Go for something that you know can be risky, and then think of we should have made it into law.
We took a risk with President Mahama, so we can take a risk with.
No, it was a good calculated risk that you are very happy about.
And so we will do a good calculated risk. Come 4 years.
You see, when you have a good thing, this is the advice you give us. You know, this is the advice our mothers give us.
I'm a project.
And when you have a good thing, you hold on.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you say that consistency is very important.
Consistency is important.
So you have to be measured.
But you see, I grew up best if we are not pa. I grew up best if we are not pa. How are you seeing this anopa, Roland? This anopa, how is it looking?
I'll take your question to be a rhetoric.
Yes.
Because I asked the questions here, not you. You're not.
I'm forgetting myself here.
Yes. So please go ahead.
No, but just to say that when you have a good thing, you don't change it, you don't gamble, you don't risk. This government, I keep saying it, you know, is committed to doing right by the Ghanaian. You have a president that's committed to a legacy term. He's all about leaving a legacy. He said this every opportunity that he has had, that for him, his whole administration is about leaving a legacy. Now, what else can you wish for, right? What more could anybody want? So for me, our city is stabilizing because we see where things are going. We see how committed this president is, and we see, you know, what safe pair of hands he has, and we can trust and relax and do business. So let's do business. Let's revamp our economy.
A communication person in her. She's waxing lyrical. Embellishing.
You see?
You both believe me, though.
No.
But at the end of the day, would you say a question like this from me, where credit should be due, is appropriate, or that we should hasten slowly?
Oh, we should hasten slowly. You know, yesterday, my uncle was taken ill all of a sudden, and we rushed him to the hospital. I think I'm a middle-income Ghanaian, but by the time the bills came out, I realized that I'm one emergency away from poverty. My life has not changed in the 120 days, you understand? My salary has gone up by 10% maybe, but I'm still living on the edge of poverty. So when you come and you're saying, we are watching, you understand? if by the end of 4 years, that is where I'm going to mark you, and I feel as if, well, my life has not improved, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter whether you're 120 days, if at the end of 4 years, my life has not improved, I'm marking you out and kicking you out. For me, that's it. It's good that you are doing well in your 120 days, and we applaud you for that. But we are still watching. I'm hard-pressed to look at Ghanaians, pick 10 Ghanaians off the street to say, between January 7th and now, how has your life improved? You get it. And let's take a poll. You get it. Their lives may be happier because they feel as if they've gotten rid of one government and there's hope for this government to do the thing. But in terms of tangibilities, how has their life improved? Possibly not. You get it. So there are things that will bear fruit now with some of them. Yes, I do momo over and I'm happy that I'm not paying that kind of tax. It puts maybe a little more in my pocket, but the little more, is it significant? I mean, I'm a scientist. Is it significant if we're going to test for it? That is it making my life better? Maybe not. You get it. So I think that for me, we are happy that things look bright. Whether they are sustained, we will get to know. As surely as night follows day, we will get to know whether they are sustainable. As I said before, many factors. Yes, the trade war that is going on with Mr. Trump and whatever he's coming out with, you get it, has affected the dollar. The dollar is no longer seen at it. We are looking at the rise of the BRICS countries. You understand? In some ways, with the rise of the BRICS countries, and they wanting to end the dominance of the dollar, that will also come. Will it affect the economy? Possibly. If we say that Ukraine, whatever, affects the economy, in the same way, some of these things will affect our economy and bring the dollar down and make our city more stable. But we have to do the structural things that ensure that when the wind blows and the drains come and we are hit by a pandemic, our city is stable. Those are the things we want to see. You understand? How many things are we, what kind of measures have we put in terms of industrialization? Right now we're having energy problems. Energy problems. My lights were off at part of the night. You get it. We're having energy problems. Energy problems is not good for our 24-hour economy. You get it. So, and it's not good for industrialization either. We want to make sure that the food that we are growing, we eat what we eat, and can what we cannot eat. You understand? And export the ones that we can. You get it. And bring in more money than instead of buying things out there. Are we still buying tomatoes from Burkina Faso? Are we still bringing plantains from Ivory Coast? Are we still bringing onions from Niger? Those things. How are we putting our agrarian economy on such a footing that we are strong? When the wind blows, we are stable. You understand? How are we building people up so that those who are below the poverty line come above the poverty line, and those who are already above the poverty line even get into more middle income and upper middle income? What are the structural things that we are putting into place? That is what we want to see. As for right now, for me, it is still very early. We cannot praise ourselves. What did we say? I think one of the ministers says we should project and
promise and
over-deliver. You understand? Right now,
who said that?
It's a good wise saying.
It's a good wise saying.
Promise and
over-deliver.
All right.
You understand? Yeah. That is what it should be. Because if you raise our expectations up so much, the least thing you do, we will be the same people who said, Hosanna. We will crucify you. And we will have
So you're saying that it should be cautious optimism?
They should be cautious.
And the promise, please let me write that. Lefties, dear,
under promise and over-deliver. I think it's a business maxim or whatever that they say in terms of, that should be what this administration should be doing. You understand? Meanwhile, they are. We've heard governments come and say they're taking us from a Gadgetsburg economy and putting us.
Which government? That was the previous government. Why are you trying?
No. I'm saying we've heard. You also put the belief in. No. So, but we are saying that we don't want that. We want to see it happen. The industries that are already there. How are you helping them to come up so that they can employ more people? You understand, and be sustainable. Not just they will come up and then one regime changes, they die. No, you get it. If we have to do new ones, the new ones, how are we placing them such that we use our natural resources to supply to those new industries so that they can add value to it, and then we can export and make more money. So for me, yes, the economy looks like it is the same, but it all may be cosmetic. What we want is the structural changes that really make sure that our lives get better. Because at this moment, I cannot say for I'm happier because we've gotten rid of the NPP, but in terms of money in my pocket and
not yet.
And no. That we
but
have.
Are you seeing any policy or policy initiative that gives you perhaps the optimism that you can measure well at the end of an era? Sometime?
Yeah, I mean,
in the short
they see they're trying. I mean, we like that they said they will have a gender equity council. Isn't that what was one of the things that they said they would have, to promote women's involvement in policy, decision making. We like that. Okay. We said there will be more support for persons living with disabilities. I remember that they said there would be ensure a minimum of 5% hiring quota and etc. in the public sector. These are things that we can measure. You understand, and we want to see that happen. Of course, the National Apprenticeship Program. They said it. As for the National Codes Program, I was discussing this with a friend who and says that, look, AI has made the competition for junior programs very tough. So the codes that they are doing, they are coming in as first line. They're saying they will finish and they may not have jobs because AI, so we are a little behind the curve in terms of that.
But
so
it's because we never started.
Okay, of course, because we never started. So we have to start from somewhere. So we would hope...
You do admit we have to start from somewhere.
Oh, yes, we have to start from somewhere. So we would hope that there's a plan, that those junior programmers, there's a plan to take them to the next level and the next level so that they become more useful. And even if we have to export them, you understand, they can find niches in places where there will be... they are exportable and they can bring back home money. So there are certain things that we see that we are sure that we can measure. But importantly, we will measure Yasitrim. You understand? We want to be able to say that, look, whatever salary they give me, if there's an emergency, I can cater to it without feeling as if I am going into the poverty line, and that I can cater for it satisfactorily and get it. Our healthcare system needs to be looked at. To be honest, it really needs to be looked at. It looks like if you can't afford it, you die. And it's heartbreaking because the majority of us cannot afford it, and so we need to really look at certain
Dr. Susan Edouard-Mankwa, the cautious optimist.
Oh, we have to be hopeful.
Once bitten, twice
always shy. Always shy. Always shy. Roland, but to see that this government under-promised and is over-delivered. I'll give just one classic example.
Yeah, our time is up.
Give the leanest and most efficient governments. The president said, I will do 60 ministers.
Let's see how it is in terms of money. You can do less and
but you do admit that when you have less ministers, you spend less.
We hope so. We hope so because
the cautious optimist. Okay, so let me say, good man. It's okay. It's okay. It's not for discussion. Yeah. So you've mentioned it one line.
No, I was about to say
no more a minute. No more a minute on that. And so
I wanted to reassure Auntie Susan.
We are watching.
No, it's important. It's important that, and this is what I would say.
Okay,
I think that this government always sets a bar that's really, really high. And so Ghanaians always expect more.
Why? We deserve more.
Absolutely, I agree. But then, let's agree to give flowers where flowers are due.
Evelyn Chebafor is with the Bekwai Senior High School. Great, beautiful, intelligent lady. Wishing you all the best, darling. And then also Ogochukwu Nweke. He's a lawyer and also motivator, marriage counselor, lecturer. He does everything and business as well. Omo, how are you? Ogo. And then also somebody who is a southpaw, left-handed like me, but supports Arsenal. He got disappointed yesterday. He's also an engineer. Engineer Asamwachum. I wish you well. We're in a morning period, all Arsenal fans. I'm not an Arsenal fan, I'm a Chelsea fan. Felix van der Palen, thank you for always watching. I love you so much as well. And I have a couple of messages. So, Ni Atukwe Kwe, Neodik Ni Atukwe Kwe says the 120 achievement by 20 days achievement by JDM and the end is far better than what we had seen in the last 8 years. But again, he says cautious optimism. So that's it. And then for all the things we have to do, please, we also have a couple of messages. So I'll read a couple of them for you apart from the one. This one, Osei Kwame Boateng says that, look, just measuring the NDC by 120 days is not enough. So much was promised in the early days of the MPP Nanado Baumia administration. By the end of the 8-year period, Ghanaians were crying. I'm MPP, but I have to say that I still want Dr. Mahmoud Baumia to come. But there are some things that have been done. The code of conduct, as well as looking at the CD's performance against the dollar as well as the pound, is a good thing. But Galamsey and the promises that were made have not been achieved. Andy Edemagbele, good morning to you. He says the only thing left for the NDC to do is to declare a state of emergency to fight illegal mining. If they did that, then they'll be given more years to govern. All right. And we also have this one. Nana Gazor says, look, we need to ensure that there is peace in Ghana, and especially in the northern part of Ghana. But he says, Agrobiswa Ifianopa. Okay, you're taking a cue from Amma Pratt. Hey! And then also, I have this one coming from Kwame Osei Bonsu, who says that the government has done well, but we also have to hasten slowly. Why is everybody going round and round, on and on, praising the government? That is just barely 4 months in office. What is this? When did we become satisfied with short-term achievements? We have to know that the MPP will come once again if the NDC fails. Let me say again, good morning to you, Justice Senyo Jamafe, who is among the 7 who have been nominated by the President to the Supreme Court. We expect that they'll have their time with the Appointments Committee of Parliament very soon, if they should be by emergency reconvened to Parliament. Dr. Kofi Anochie, great man. Isaac Sapong of the MPRA, wishing you all the best for the day. And we have something to share about this morning. It's about Mother's Day. And good morning to you. Thank you for passing.
Are you giving us a gift for Mother's Day?
You know we are mothers, right?
Yes, we're giving you a gift by telling you what you need to do to join us on our special Mother's Day celebration in style time with Mother, dining with Mother on the 11th of May, 2025 at the Airport View Hotel, and it's going to feature live band music as well as thrilling performances by some notable gospel artists, including PCS star MOG, Max Praise, and Reynolds the Gentleman. And alongside, there's going to be delicious food, fun games, and special giveaways for everyone who comes along with a mother, and then also in 2 or double. So make sure you grab your tickets. It's just 600 and 1,100 Ghana cedis. You have to call to get those tickets now. You can call or text on 024 712 0633 or 053 110 0927. Remember, TV3 and 3FM's Dine In with Mama is coming off the 11th of May 2025, 12 p.m. sharp at the Airport View Hotel. Make sure you don't miss out. And they say Dine In with Mama, every mom deserves to be celebrated like royalty. Thank you. We're celebrating all of you.
Yes, so you should have done it by giving us free ticket.
Okay. So we're going to tell the creative production team to also do that. But I also know that Guy G is congratulating George Otibonsu for having received the prestigious symbol of honorary doctorate degree in South Africa. So Guy G, a regular viewer as well as with the Kenny Japan team, says that kudos to you, Guy G. And then Dr. George Otibonsu. All the best. We're taking a break. We'll be right back with the latest in sports.